What's up, guys, and welcome back to BitCast, episode 114 for the week of August 7th, 2023. I'm your host, Jake Martin, and on the show this week, and always, we have Landry Smith. What's up, dude?
Hey, Jake, how you doing, man?
I'm
Ready to
doing
talk
well.
some video games.
Yeah, dude. Hey, did you notice my camera setup this time is a little bit different?
I love those angles in the back. It's real snazzy.
Little bokeh back there. Still a very boring wall, but shifted it around because I felt like I was looking above. It was like the camera was like looking down at me, and I was not looking at the camera as easily. So I feel like this will be a more engaging video podcast for all those who are our video listeners. So
Yeah, subbed out a window for a door. It's nice. The natural light's
dude.
still hitting right though. So
Dude, this is a natural light. This is a little fancy like light I have over here that I just freaking turn right on.
Nice.
Bada bing, bada boom.
Nice.
We're lit. You know what's also good, Landry? This episode of BitCast today. I'm excited about this one. So if you guys are tuning in, we are discussing some news of the week, which is the Switch has sold 1 billion games. One big B, billion games. Embracer Group is closing studios. Boo. And our main topic of the show will be some Switch 2 rumors. There's one other secret potential news article in there, but we'll hit that when we hit that.
Nice.
So excited about that. The Switch 2 rumors kind of really came to head again last week when a whole bunch of stuff leaked, or not leaked, but people were like kind of confirming some of the things. So this seems like a more substantial one, and it kind of sparked some debate in our own friend group about what the Switch 2 should be, and some other fun topics. So we'll have a fun discussion about that later in the episode. But before we do that, a little bit of housekeeping for you guys. If you are listening, please review the show. We appreciate that. Write into us. We appreciate that even more. You can write into bitcast@bitbloggist.com, just like Loose Bugle did. And he asks, as two dads, do you have any tips you could share about fitting game time into your schedules?
Oh, man.
Landry, I'll let you go first on this one.
Yeah, so that's a big one. I mean, I sometimes have one window, like right after school, if I've gotten like my workout in, or I've already, taken care of like my responsibilities at school, before I pick the kids up at 4, I can maybe get in like 30 minutes to an hour. So that's a good time for me. But mostly I think the Switch or something like the Project Q for
Project Q,
which everybody has maligned, but like I think that's going to be like right up my alley. I just need something where I can like play in bed basically, because I'll get like 20 to 30 minutes before bed, and that's basically it. So, you just got to pick and choose your spots and know that you don't have as much time for those hobbies. You just have a lot of time. A lot of my video game time is reading about stuff on the internet now. So
yeah, you can still engage by just reading about it periodically throughout the day if you want to. Yeah, I think for me, like recently, what I've found I enjoy is like waking up before everyone else does. Like, so I'll wake up at like 6. I think we podcasted about this a while ago. But I still wake up at like 6 on the weekends, and sometimes during even the weekdays, and I'll put in like hour and a half, maybe an hour of game time. And that's just about enough for me to be able to feel like I made progress in Final Fantasy 16. So
yeah, that's a clutch strat right there. I need to employ that more often.
But then, it cuts into something else. Like if you're working out in the mornings, you can't do that. You can't do that. So yeah, you just gotta pick and choose. Pick and choose your battles. But yeah, thanks for writing in. Hopefully you can find some sort of routine that works for you. Let us know if you actually do end up figuring that out. We'd love to know. All right, so quick on the news. We'll start at the very top with the Switch selling 1 billion games. So
billion.
This came by way of Eddie Makuch, Makuch. I don't know how to pronounce that, over at GameSpot. And it's also, this is kind of a fun fact. I did not know this. This is the first Nintendo console to reach 1 billion game sales. Did you know that?
I did not know that. It doesn't surprise me because it's such a massive number. And because it's the first time Nintendo has consolidated both their handheld and console into one. But still, that's just bonkers.
Isn't that crazy, though? 1 billion games.
Yeah.
Now, I know that like there's I don't know how many thousands, like 18 something thousand games on the eShop right now, and like almost 80 to 90% of those are probably trash. Um,
Yeah.
but there's a good amount of games on there, and I mean it makes sense if somebody's out there buying all the shovelware, all the dollar games that are like going on sale like all the time that are just like ripoffs or like really really terrible like just ports of like mobile games, then you know sure, I guess you could rack up a whole bunch of sales that way. So
That's a
it,
good point. I hadn't even thought about that. I was honestly thinking like physical SKUs, but yeah, I wonder what the average median price for the billion games is. It's probably like around $15 or something. But
that would be interesting. I don't think in this article it shows the median price, um, but nonetheless, very very impressive, very exciting. And the system. This is actually a question that I had. So the Switch, as of this article, has sold more than 129 million units. So really healthy.
they have an opportunity to take the crown from PS2 and I mean DS. I think DS is ahead of the PS2, but
I don't know, man. If we, based on this podcast, this episode, with the Switch 2 just around the corner potentially, I don't know if they're going to hit
yeah,
that, but they are the third best selling console of all time. The Switch is. So I think that's a good landmark, good milestone to have. So
absolutely.
good on you, Nintendo. And if you were curious, the top 10 best selling games on the system right now are Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, no surprise there,
Yep.
with 55 million. Animal Crossing New Horizons with 42.79 million, which is
Jeez.
kind of nuts, actually.
Yeah, that is crazy.
Because I really don't think up until this iteration of Animal Crossing, it really was that big of a seller. I mean, I
I
know it was
think it
big.
was like number 4 or 5 on the 3DS, and
Okay.
I think it's around 13 million. I was looking at that earlier today. Um, so New Horizons did so. New Horizons is the newest one, right? But
Yep.
whichever one came after that on the 3DS, it did some damage, but
New
nowhere
Leaf.
near the success of New Horizons.
It's that pandemic, man. Like it really is. Like so many people bought a Switch to play Animal Crossing.
Yeah, that was definitely like right place, right time. Um, and the
Crazy.
game is really good. What I'm excited about is I think because it's like now one of their massive franchises, I think they're going to put a lot of hopefully some more creative minds behind it. I think the core concept's brilliant. I just think like there's so much they could do to improve the formula, make it a little more user friendly and
Mm.
quicker, snappier.
Yeah, just a few like inventory management things would be the biggest for
Yeah, that'd
me.
be huge.
But other than that, I mean, yeah, this brought a whole bunch of new users in, and I recently deleted my island because I went back and I was just
Oh,
like, I'm not
man.
attached to this anymore. It had been so long since I've been there, and I was like, I kind of want to just re-experience that whole like gradual build up and not because I think Mark and I podcasted about this a while ago where I did the time traveling and got like so many bells and built out my
Oh my
island.
gosh, I remember that. Yeah.
I built up my island so quickly and like did everything I wanted to do. And I had a cool island and I was like, yeah, cool. I did that thing. But I think it did in the long run hurt the long tail experience you're supposed to have with that game. So I'm
I
like,
think you gave me a fat stack of bells one time.
I
So
probably did. Probably
yeah.
ruined you with my blood money.
No, 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 no. I didn't know it was tainted, so I won't even think about that. It was
Don't even worry
perfect.
about it, man. Don't even
It
worry
was a
about it.
nice gift.
You're welcome. So yeah, then rounding it out, number 3, Smash Bros. Ultimate with 31.7 million. Breath of the Wild at 30.65 million. Mario Odyssey 26.4 million, and then Pokemon Sword and Shield, and then Pokemon Scarlet Violet, both 25 and 22 respectively. Super Mario Party, the worst version of Mario Party at
Yeah.
19 million. And Tears of the Kingdom has already crawled back up into the most selling units of 18.5 million, which is
Only
pretty
took a
cool.
month and a half. That's wild. That's
That's pretty
wild.
amazing. And then New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe, rounding out number 10. Um, so when I was looking at this list earlier, I was like, how many of these are Mario like influenced? So you got Mario Kart 8, you got Smash Bros, which is kind of Mario, you got
Kind
Super
of.
Mario Odyssey, Super Mario Party, and New Super Mario Bros. So what is that? 5 out of the 10?
Yeah. A lot of Mario, a lot of Pokemon. Well,
Mm-hmm.
Pokemon and Zelda now are, I mean, who would have thought, man, Zelda becoming this huge franchise?
Yeah,
I always knew they were going to sell like a ton of merch because they've got that hardcore fan base. But if you look at previous Zelda titles selling, I mean, they're
not that
not
good.
eclipsing the 10 million mark. Um,
Beloved by everyone. Anyone that has
yeah,
played a Zelda game is like, that's so good. Wind Waker HD is so good, or whatever. Skyward Sword, so good. I loved it. Not everyone has that reaction about Skyward Sword, but
yeah. Skyward
nonetheless,
Sword's the black sheep of the 3D Zeldas for sure.
but it's still really a quality game. And
100%. Yeah.
and I think, yeah, this is just I think it's the shift. I think it's the shift to the open world Zelda that brought in so many more people, and then the reviews were just all like 10 out of 10s, amazings for both of
Yep.
these.
Yep.
So that'll turn some heads when the game is that good. So
Yeah, I think there's a shift going on in the culture, like pop culture, where hardcore gaming, what would have been considered hardcore gaming 5 years ago, is now nice coffee mug, is now you know an experience you have to take part in. Like people are talking about um, Elden Ring is a game that I would have expected to
yeah,
do not very well. It sold over 10 million copies, even though it was extremely critically acclaimed. I just couldn't believe that it had that reach and appeal because that game kicks your butt, man.
yeah. According to this, in February 2023, the game had sold 20 million copies. So Elden Ring is doing
Holy crap!
doing just fine for how hard and not approachable that game is.
Yeah, I know. I bought it twice and sold it twice,
You
so
bought
like
it twice and sold
I'll
it
probably
twice.
buy it again.
You
Yeah.
maniac. But yeah, pretty cool. Exciting to see that level of success, and just the big billion attached to the Switch is an exciting record to have. So
Yeah, super cool.
pretty neat stuff. All right, so let's jump to this next one. Lander, you want to tell us about the Embracer Group story? So closing these
Yeah.
studios.
This article comes from IGN, Taylor Lyles at IGN. Embracer Group is starting to close studios after losing out on a deal worth billions.
Hmm.
And basically, the article goes on to state that a studio called Campfire Cabal, who is working on a kind of AAA RPG experience, has been closed by Embracer Group in the wake of a deal that didn't quite go through. Um, and I wanted to bring this up just because Embracer Group may not be a name that a lot of people have heard of, but over the past decade, they've been buying a ton of franchises that everybody who's been playing video games for a while knows, like
Hmm.
Tomb Raider. They own Tomb Raider now. They own the studio that's made the most recent Tomb Raider games, Crystal Dynamics, which is a very capable studio. They own Square Enix Montreal.
Hmm.
Kingdoms of Amalur was a pretty popular kind of Western
Yep.
RPG from the PS3 days. They
Big
own
fan of
the
that game.
Borderlands franchise and Gearbox, that developer, which is like huge,
Crazy.
published by 2K um, for the longest time. They own Deus Ex, Thief, Duke Nukem. And then now they have all the rights to the Lord of the Rings games as well. And which, is a franchise that's like so near and dear to my heart. Um, and
So
there's
you
been a
picked
lot
up Gollum, right? You picked up Lord of the Rings
of,
Gollum.
I did not. And like, as somebody who's a huge gamer and a huge fan of Lord of the Rings, like you would think, like even if that game is like bad, but like if there's any kind of endearing quality in it, I'm going to pick it up. But it didn't seem like there was at all.
Man.
Um, so it's just a reminiscent of like a giant corporation kind of buying up a lot of these game studios and not really maybe giving them the space or the management systems that they need to put in place to make sure that they're successful. And it reminded me a lot of what we talked about last time with Microsoft acquiring Activision, and then
Yeah.
how they've been spending billions and billions of dollars on all of these acquisitions with Bethesda and everything. And how sometimes these things, even if you've got money behind it, even if you've got a massive corporation and all those resources to use, it's not necessarily the best thing all the time.
Yeah.
So, and then also a lot of these corporations, it seems like to me, will greenlight things, and they're quick to cut them as well if they need to make gains in a certain quarter, financial quarter, or something like that. So,
Yeah. That's too bad. Um, Because like yeah, when they were buying up like THQ Nordic and stuff like that, I think
Yeah,
there was a lot of people celebrating that purchase because THQ made up so many games from the early like 90s to mid 2000s. You know, you got so many licensed games through that publisher and that developer. And so I think like yes, it's active again. Like they're going to be doing something with it. And really, there hasn't been much
right,
that's come out of it so far. But I mean, Embracer is still huge. You know, they're shuttering just a few of these studios, but it is sad. Like you know, it makes you question the financial decisions behind the acquisition. You know, is it just to build your portfolio to then sell it off again? Where you was the intention never really to like make a game? Like I don't know. I would
right,
assume so. I would assume they always wanted to make a game, but I know game development's hard, and I know like they probably got into development with some of these studios, and they were just like, of everything we have going on, this one seems like the least likely to be successful or make money. So we're gonna have to just go ahead and say we're done here,
right.
and that kind of sucks.
And I mean, like one of the biggest things they purchased was this developer that was coming out with this big game, and they had hyped it up as this AAA experience that was going to turn into a franchise for them. And that game was Biomutant, which came out to
Oh man, yeah,
very middling reviews.
so
And it
promising.
wasn't like terrible reviews. It was very mediocre, like in the 70s probably,
Yep.
but just not something you can in like the modern era. You can't you know build a franchise around a game that's in the 70s or a
Hmm.
game that you put on PS Plus or Game Pass and it doesn't even make waves when people have a chance to play it. So
Yep. Yeah, and I mean, this has definitely got to be a decision also on that came as a result of that deal. I guess they had that fell through. So in the
yeah.
article, they mentioned that $2 billion deal. I don't know exactly what that deal was for. What were they trying to get with
Well, the
that deal?
article does not give a lot of details on that. It seems like they found out about it through LinkedIn,
Mm,
but they did not give details as to what company they were trying to
yeah, you're
purchase.
right. Doesn't say in the other article they linked to. I clicked on
Yeah,
that, and it's
I did
just
too. Yeah, tried to
that's
get
so
more
weird.
information, but it just seems like there's a lead, but they didn't really get to follow through with it. So,
Oh man. And so then yeah, investors are like, nope, nope, you're not
yep,
making enough money now. Now that you don't have this $2 billion deal that you're trying to push through, which would take more money out of their pockets anyways. Like it's just I don't. That's crazy. That's crazy.
yeah,
There's money in acquisitions apparently, and if you don't
yeah,
make the acquisition, you lose money somehow.
yep,
Explain that to me in the business. I don't.
yeah.
I
It
don't.
doesn't make a lot of sense, but that's the way it works, I guess. I don't have the authority or expertise to speak on that side of things.
Yeah, I don't either. Well, hopefully all of those affected in the studios land on their feet, find jobs,
Yeah,
and this is unfortunately par for the course for the games industry in terms of studios shuttering and falling out, and people having to find new jobs elsewhere. So, best of luck to all those involved.
the
Uh,
games industry seems like a crazy business to be in. You're almost just like an automatic freelancer. With how many studios closed down and
yeah.
how many like new AAA studios come and go here over it just moves so fast. So
Hmm.
I would imagine you can't get too comfortable at any one job.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think I would like that. I don't think I would like the unknown nature of my job, not knowing,
Yeah,
2 months from now will I be working here. That would be too stressful for me. I'm weak.
yep,
I'm too weak to cut it in the game dev industry. Um, Sort of related to last week, Lander, you popped in this article about the Ratchet and Clank review from PC
yeah,
Gamer.
yeah. So this is from Robin Valentine, and I just wanted to touch on this a little bit because it was ironic that we brought this up last week, had a little bit of a conversation on it, and this kind of caught fire on Twitter.
Yeah,
So
or X.
yeah, the headline reads that in her review reads that this game's ported over from the PS5. It's an action-packed adventure. It's visually spectacular, but it struggles to justify its premium price on PC.
Mm,
So, okay, I'm fine with that. So I go through and I'm reading the review, and I'm expecting her to say something like, a lot of Sony's PS5 to PC ports have had some struggles with frame rate or just kind of performance overall. Like The
Yeah.
Last of Us Part 1
The Last
was
of Us was hilarious.
terrible. Yeah, pretty bad. So, but this performance is great apparently, and it runs really good whether you have an SSD hard drive or not. And it looks beautiful. It runs almost perfect with great frame rate. So I was like, okay, so what's the problem? And 8 out of 10, first of all, if we're just looking at the score, I have no problem with 8 out of 10. I actually gave Ratchet and Clank a 4 out of 5, which is the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I have a problem with is that the headline of her article and what she tweeted out really honed in on how this is an amazing game. But the fact that it only took her 15 hours to complete the game, um, she doesn't think that this game justifies its price, its premium price tag of $60, which I think is
Yeah.
extremely absurd because, first of all, a video game is not a flat medium like a film. Like, you don't press play on a video game and have a 15-hour experience suddenly if you want to get the platinum
Mm-hmm.
or complete everything in the game. I have 27 hours logged on Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, and I got the platinum. And I'm not like some gamer who doesn't know what they're doing. Like, I just like to take my time and explore and get lost in these worlds. And I really try when I'm playing a Ratchet and Clank game because I think they're some of the most fun games to complete all the way through. They're not super challenging. There's
Yeah.
not a lot of pushback. They're great collectathons to try and do on your own because the stuff's maybe a little bit hidden, but like you start to get an idea for like where the developers are hiding things because their game design has so many like visual indicators for where things might be hidden.
I was going to say the
Um,
same thing. When I played that game, I noticed how everything kind of made sense after a while. There was a good flow to it, and you could almost guess as to where the hidden stuff would be. There weren't things
yeah,
that were just like BS, just like why is this like everything kind of had a logical place, and I
yeah.
was like, oh, this is kind of fun to explore.
And to me, just playing that game, it was the first game I played on the PS5 outside of Astrobot. And
Also good.
I felt like it was a really full fledged adventure. And in no way, shape, or form did I ever feel like it was like cut corners in any area. And it just seems like a really low blow and weird take to just be like, this game's not long enough to justify $60. But
Yeah.
what do you think about that, Jake?
So I read, I'll read the last paragraph. The second to last paragraph kind of talks about what you mentioned. So she says, or he says, um, the problem is that even collecting absolutely everything, doing every side quest, and fully upgrading every gun in addition to completing the main story only took me about 15 hours. If you just mainline the critical path, it'll be 10 hours or less. There is a new game plus mode with further levels of weapon upgrades to gain, but while I enjoyed my time with Rift Apart, there certainly isn't enough depth to compel me to immediately replay it. And so, yeah, basically saying that it's a short game, and I don't feel compelled to go back to play it. And then they talk about the price at the very end. At 50 to 60 pounds, or 50 pounds, $60, it's hard to escape the fact that on PC, there are bigger, meatier experiences you could put that money towards. And so I think it's a result of the cost more than it is the length, honestly.
Right.
Because right now you can get Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart for $30 brand new and probably even cheaper elsewhere. So the game is already $30, and so when you're paying that premium price, $60 still in the US to play that on PC when it's essentially the same exact experience, it doesn't feel good. It's the same reason that like people get mad about the Switch ports that come over. You're like, cool, we're getting a port that was on the other consoles for a long time, but it's going to be $60 regardless. Like The Witcher 3, I'm sure is still probably $60 on there, or at least at the time when it came out. Like this is an old game at this point. Like I shouldn't be paying this much. Now, Rift Apart is not that old of a game. It's only 3 years old, but I do think when you see the price that you have to pay to play it on PC, paired with how long of an experience that is, it does feel worse in that realm. You're just like, man, I could have like if I just had a PS5, I could pay $30 or less and be playing this.
Yeah.
And something about that just feels wrong, probably.
Maybe I don't understand. For me, in the video game medium, like I just don't think it's the right place in a review to talk about the price because it's not always going to be $60. I bet
Right.
right now, if you scoured the web, you could probably find a place that has a sale of Ratchet and Clank right now on PC. But you could probably find, not if not now, in a month it'll be $40. So
Yeah.
to have a review out there where people maybe 5 years down the road want to look up reviews on Ratchet and Clank, and then you have a score tied to the price. It's completely irrelevant outside of the first 2 months of its release. So
Mm-hmm.
we shouldn't be judging in my opinion, game reviewers should not be rating games based on what they perceive their value to be because they're constantly fluctuating in price, and even Nintendo games are like known for the fact that Nintendo never puts its games on sale, but that's just completely untrue. Like I would say at least 4 times a year most first party Nintendo games drop down to $45 for like a flash sale.
Yeah.
But they are known for sticking at that $60 price point, most of the times. But PlayStation games are not like that. Like you said, Ratchet and Clank's $30. You can go to a used game store and find that for $20 easy. Or now it's on PlayStation Plus. So if you're judging a game on value, it just is not giving a clear picture to somebody who maybe wants to look up, a Metacritic score or something like that on a game.
Mm-hmm.
But in this reviewer's defense, I feel like the review was well written, and most of their points were very on point and very fair. I just have a problem with the way that they kind of pushed out the article. It felt like almost like, hey, this is an engagement piece. Like we want to really focus on this. And honestly, if you read the whole entire review, it's it's kind of bad writing to just add a new idea in at the very very end of the article that hasn't been a part of the review process at all. I don't know. It just, that kind of irritated me.
Yeah, I was trying to see on their profile if they had commented more on it.
And Robin Valentine is a dude. My bad. I looked up his profile after he said that. So
yeah, I was like, I saw his image in the bottom. I was like, I think it's a dude. But yeah, good stuff. Hopefully, there's been some good, encouraging discourse, some healthy discourse. Don't we all love that word, discourse,
yes.
around that? So, all right,
it's what we do, man.
Discourse, professional discourse, disc golf course. Let's jump over to the main topic of the show, man.
Right.
Switch 2 rumors. So we've talked about the Switch 2, I feel like, a million times. But I haven't done it in a while, and I'm happy to do it again because we have some more details. So this comes by way of GoNintendo.com, and the author's name on this article is Raw Meat Cowboy.
Oh my gosh. What does that guy do? That's got to be AI, right?
I don't know, man. Let's see. Raw Meat Cowboy.
Don't click it, man. That doesn't sound safe.
I clicked on it, and it just has a whole bunch of his articles, or her articles. I don't know who that is. But anyways, I came here just for the details. So the latest details on the supposed Switch successor come from insiders Nate the Hate and Andy Robinson, VGC. Then they pertain to some tech specs, software, and more. Here's the roundup on what information was shared. So this is what I have seen from folks. The device will have an 8-inch LCD screen. So don't focus on the 8-inch, just focus on the LCD screen element there on that one. The device will have 512 gigabytes of internal storage. Okay.
That's huge compared to the current
Switch. Yeah. A late 2024 launch is expected somewhere around September and October, which might line up with the way things are kind of looking for releases. And the device will supposedly launch with a 3D Mario backed up by 3 to 4 sources. And this is surprising. I don't know if I believe this. The device will use a new cartridge format.
Interesting.
Of all of those, that last one sounds the least believable because, as we kind of alluded to earlier, we had a conversation in our Nintendo Bros chat about this, and it seems like Nintendo likes to stick to this, paired upgrade situation where they have one console that starts, then goes to the next one, then they separate that entire generation and go to the next thing. So
Yeah.
Nintendo to SNES, although that wasn't backwards compat, so I'm already kind of ruining my argument here.
Well, the first three, then
Yeah.
they jumped to
And 64
N64.
was also terrible. But then after that,
Well,
after
GameCube's
that,
not either.
so GameCube to Wii, you could play.
Yep.
Wii to Wii U, and then it kind of stopped there, and then we basically have the Switch, and I just feel like that kind of carries on with the handhelds as well. So we talked about Game Boy Color to Game Boy Advance. You could play both those games on there. Game Boy Advance to Game Boy Advance SP, if that counts, and then SP to DS, you could play the Game Boy Advance games. DS to 3DS, you could play. I think you could actually. I don't know if you can play 2DS games on a 3DS.
You can.
You can.
I do it all the time.
I do it all the time.
Yeah, and that's one of the only ones where every iteration of the 3DS can play DS carts because they are pretty much the same cartridge.
Mhm.
Even the new Nintendo 3DSs, but like most Nintendo consoles will come out with a later generation like refresh where they're no longer backwards compat, but there's usually some like better feature for whatever the base console is. I could see the cartridge format being a thing. Like it could be a new car. It could be something like the 3DS, but where they increase the storage format a little bit, because that is a problem with the current Switch cartridge, but it still
Pretty
has
small.
a very close to similar form factor, and they can still be backwards compatible.
Yeah, that is
or
true.
I mean, they could pull a DS and have a whole Game Boy on the bottom side of the console, and then that could be the Switch port, and then having the new console.
I mean, that wouldn't be too terrible. I don't think it would be aesthetically that great to look at, and it'd probably be confusing. But I mean, it's no different than your computer having like two SD card slots. Or
they did it with the DS, and the DS sold like 100 bajillion consoles. So
100 bajillion. Yeah. So, I mean, what how do you feel like these rumors are? They seem in line.
Yeah, I mean, I trust it because it's Video Game Chronicle. They're good reporters. That's a good journalism website. They got 4 sources. Nate the Hate is a like a rumor leaker, but he is really good about making sure that he has multiple sources before he says something.
Right.
To the public. And I don't even think he's much of an industry insider. He's more of just somebody who has enough contacts plus just pours over the internet and kind of finds patterns and stuff. But I mean, so Nate the Hate confirming doesn't necessarily bring me a whole lot of confidence to it, but I do think he has a remarkable track record for being correct. Video Game Chronicle was the website that leaked the 3D Mario All Stars collection.
Yeah,
and that turned out to be true. So
yeah,
they also leaked Wind Waker and Twilight Princess, and I know Jeff Grubb had a hand in that as well. But that just proves that those games are real. They're just not here yet.
Yeah. So we'll see. So the question then that kind of comes up is, with keeping these new tech specs from this leak or this rumor in line, what does the Switch 2 need to do for you? Like what kind of features outside of these does it need to have to be able to get you to want to upgrade and potentially be more successful than the previous iteration? Because that's another thing that we figured out. Typically in these iterations, the second of like the console upgrade has not done as well.
Yeah. And shout
DS
out to Mark,
3DS.
Mark for kind of putting together a thread on our group chat with all this information. I think that almost assuredly Switch 2 will not see the success of the Switch, and it's not because it's not going to be an incredible console. I just think that it's just kind of the way things go. I think it's going to be a hard sell to bring a new generation of kids or the same kids to go out and get a new console when, let's face it, it's going to have a new Mario, a new Animal Crossing, a new Mario Kart, a new Smash Brothers. They've already got all this stuff. It's just going to be, iterations. And I know, like, as a longtime Nintendo fan, that Nintendo's the best at iterating on their franchises because they're not afraid to take franchises in completely new directions or reboot stuff from the ground up. For me, what does it take to get me to buy it? Well, if it launches with a new Mario, I'm going to buy it day one. If it's got Donkey Kong, Mario, Zelda, Animal Crossing, Super Smash Brothers, Mario Kart, any of those games, then I'm there. But I am the guy who bought the Wii U on its in its launch window.
I am the guy.
And I'm one of those 13 million people that's going to buy it no matter what. So
yep.
I'm irrelevant to the success of the console. But yeah, I think it's going to be a successful console. Don't get me wrong. Like I could see being like Super Nintendo to NES. Like NES sold, I think, like 50 million, and the Super Nintendo sold like 42 million. And I could see it being that kind of more of a fall off or that percentage.
Wait, say those numbers again.
Well, they're wrong and they're not accurate, but I'm just going from my head here. Here, let me. I think the Super Nintendo sold like 59, or the NES sold like 59 million.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, the SNES for me was like such a superior console. There were just so many like games that appealed to me that I feel like were just such a level up from the NES that I don't really think about the NES as much. I think about the SNES all the time.
The NES sold just over 60 million, and the SNES sold 49 million.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and crazy. I mean, I agree that the Super Nintendo is far superior.
All those games are better. Every game on there is better.
Not all of them.
Super Mario Bros. 3 is great. Okay?
Super Mario Bros. 3, Mega Man 2, Castlevania 3. There's some real amazing games on the NES.
Yeah, and there's also some real turds.
Yes.
Just like every console, though, I guess.
Yeah, that's not fair. But.
That's not fair. Yeah, so I'm same as you. I'm going to be buying the Switch 2, Super Switch, whatever they want to call it, as soon as it comes out, if I can get my hands on one. But I think for me, the biggest thing is backwards compat. Not that I want to go back and play all my old Switch titles, but that option is nice. I think the Nintendo Switch Online stuff needs to carry over.
That's huge, man. They cannot reboot it again. If they restart it and like don't have all the NES stuff or the SNES stuff they've been working to, I'm going to be so
there's no way.
Distraught.
And I think I've even seen some articles where they talk about how they intentionally designed NSO to be able to be easily ported to their next hardware. So I'm pretty sure that that's already in the works. They have that on lock. And I think controller compatibility too would be nice.
Yeah. Yeah, I waited 2 years to buy my Nintendo 64 controller. I need that to carry over.
Those are all Bluetooth, so you should be good. But Nintendo has had a way of making you play on their primary controller option every time they've made a new system. So it's like, hopefully, it's not that much of an upgrade that we need something different. And those Joy-Cons are expensive, so
that's what I want, a Joy-Con revision. I've always thought of Nintendo as the company where their hardware lasts like so long. I mean, I have tons of old stuff that I hardly ever have to work on. And
the Joy-Cons.
The Joy-Con, I've had
Joy-Cons.
I've had 6 Joy-Con go out on me.
Oh,
6. It's unreal.
And is it all drift? Is it all basically just drift?
All drift, yeah. All drift.
Yeah. You're just gaming too hard, man.
Well, you know what I figured out it was, and this is going to make me sound like a slob, but I promise we like groom our dog and everything, but we have a husky, and every time I take apart a Joy-Con, which has become sort of a hobby of mine now, I find like a husky hair in there, and those will send that bad boy drifting ASAP.
That bad boy goes drifting real quick with husky hair inside of it.
Yes, it does.
You heard it here first, folks. Don't let husky hair get into your controllers.
Yeah,
Don't do it.
I would actually. I mean, I love my dog so much; he's amazing. I just huskies in the house is tough. It's tough.
Huskies in the house. That sounds like a good sitcom.
It does.
So yeah, I mean, I mean, for me, it's 4K. It's all the same stuff, but I really do think those first two that I mentioned is just the carryover and continuation of what the Switch already has achieved so well. Just that it is this perfect device that you can put on your TV and take it on the go. And if they want to employ some new gimmick to make it more interesting, I'm all for it. But if it still does the same things that the Switch already does, then I'm in.
Yeah.
But that makes me think, like, how will they ever move away from this hybrid console form factor? Like, do you think they'll ever move away from that?
Like that. Yeah, I don't think they will. I think that they've carved out their niche. But I mean, I'm thinking about now the iterations of Game Boy, like
Mm,
as far as form factor goes, as far as technology goes. And I think that's what you're going to see with the Switch is a much more power. They found their niche, right? But a much more power focused upgrade. Um, now, I mean, they're always going to be innovative in like control area and stuff like that.
yeah.
I could see them, coming out with another controller design maybe in the far future. But I think for this one, we're going to see something a little more grounded and really just kind of like the portable PS4 power, um, maybe Switch that we've always kind of
Mm.
wanted.
I've been thinking about the Project Q also while I've been playing Final Fantasy 16, and I'm just like, man, it would be nice to be able to play
Dude,
this just casually
okay.
because it's
The
not
Wii
that.
U is the most underrated hardware as far as like specs go, maybe ever. I mean, what the Wii U did was really impressive. I mean, it was just 1-to-1. Uh, you could have that little pad and go everywhere. And what were they doing that with? Like, it wasn't over Wi-Fi. You didn't have to be connected to the internet,
I think
but
it
it would
was
just
Bluetooth.
stream
I think it was like
Bluetooth.
some kind of a strong Bluetooth. I can't remember
Bluetooth can go
exactly.
over, can send images and video like that. Like,
I don't know.
it was wild, man. Like, and it works perfectly.
Let me see.
Uh, very underrated. So if Project Q can be as good as the Wii U, like that thing will be awesome.
Mm. Here's okay. I'm way off. I'm glad I looked this up. The gamepad communicates with Wii U console over a modified Wi-Fi protocol designed for low latency transmission. So it was just Wi-Fi,
Cool.
but it did some fancy stuff at the time to make it low tech or like low latency,
Yeah,
which is pretty good.
that is cool.
But I mean,
I,
like, I feel the same way about remote play. I think PS4 and a Vita is something that a lot of people slept on. Being able to play your PS4 games on your Vita in your house or anywhere.
yeah. Well, I think it was under advertised. Like, I am a fan of PlayStation. I didn't even know you could do that, to be honest. So
Dude, I mean, you can do it on your PS5 right now if you want to. On your laptop, you can do it anywhere. But
yeah, that's
I remember playing Destiny 2 or maybe the original Destiny on my PS Vita at my home in Memphis while my PS4 was plugged in Chattanooga,
what?
and
That's crazy.
I was like playing with my brothers. We were like doing like a little online co-op session, and I was like, "Oh, I'll just jump in. I'll jump in via remote play on my Vita." There was some lag. It wasn't the best experience, but the fact that I could even like
Yeah,
do
that you
that
can even get that up and
and it
going. I
worked
mean,
was pretty nuts. So pretty cool. Um, so yeah, I don't know. And then you had a good question at the end here. So
that's what I
um,
do.
the first year of Switch. So yeah, Breath of the Wild, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Splatoon 2, Super Mario Odyssey, Skyrim, Doom, Xenoblade Chronicles 2, SteamWorld Dig 2, Stardew Valley. And you said, how can Switch 2 compete with its first year? Will they follow the same format?
Yeah. And you may think like Skyrim, Doom, those are really old games, but what that did was show people that, third parties, huge third parties are here with the
Mm-hmm.
Switch. Um, and that led, maybe to The Witcher 3, stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I don't think they can compete. That's another thing. Like, that was the best console launch lineup in the best year of games ever.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just the fact that you have Breath of the Wild and Super Mario Odyssey, in the same year is absolutely nuts. I mean, those games are both 10 out of 10 masterpieces. And in
Insane.
my opinion, they're the two best games on the entire console.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think
I
Breath
mean,
of the Wild is better than Tears of the Kingdom.
Splatoon
Uh,
2 also, I mean, that was such a level up from the first one. I remember the first one kind of petered out, partly because it was on the Wii U, but
no.
also,
The first one was amazing. But Splatoon 2 was better because it was
mhm,
everything Splatoon 1 was, and then a little bit better online play, really,
mhm.
and a little bit better of a campaign.
And Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, the game that never stops selling. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, with some cool
the
extra
perfect
add
Mario
ons.
Kart.
Xenoblade Chronicles 2 was there to appease like that niche JRPG crowd. And
Hmm.
even though I consider it to be one of the more overrated games, the franchise is great.
And
Um,
then you had SteamWorld and Stardew Valley kind of rounding out the indie scene, just showing
yeah.
you like, hey, we have these really cool indie games that have been huge on PC that are going to be
Yeah.
on Switch.
And that launch year was so important because it informed consumers of what the Switch was going to be and what it
Hmm.
still is today, which is incredible first party Nintendo games, some really cool third party experiences that you can play on other consoles and maybe have better like graphical experiences, but you can't take anywhere you want to go. And
Hmm.
then
Outside
basically,
of the
like,
Steam Deck now.
yeah, yeah, Steam level indie support of just like the best indie games you can think of, and they're all coming here. And you know, that's what Switch 2, if they want to be as successful as one of the biggest and best consoles of all time, they're going to have to find some way to, in one succinct year, show consumers why it is important to buy a Switch 2. It's important to get on this console so you can purchase games here for the next 7 years.
I I think so too. I think it's majorly important to try and do that. I don't. There's no way that they're going to be able to repeat this kind of launch year.
Yeah,
To
I
what you
think
were saying, but like,
if we were to speculate as to how they could do it, here's what they could do. And I think, as far as cadence of software release goes, like this is to me something they could feasibly pull off, and that is Metroid Prime 4, which I don't
mm,
think will be a launch game. Super Mario launch game that'll bring people into the door.
hmm,
Metroid Prime 4 maybe in that first quarter window.
yep,
A Mario Kart game at the holiday,
dude,
or maybe in the summer of the next year,
that'd be
in
bonkers.
that first year, and then maybe like what I would like a lower Zelda release. Maybe it's the remaster pack of Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. Maybe it's Grezzo's been working on Oracle of Seasons and Oracle of the Ages ports, or remasters or remakes. Something like that, or even a top-down new Zelda experience. I think that could maybe compete. And then maybe we get a new Nintendo IP, which is something that I have been thinking Nintendo would do all through the Switch, but they took a couple shots, but they just never really.
Didn't land.
They
Didn't
never
quite
came up with
land.
something like Super Mario Maker or Splatoon like they did in the Wii U era.
Yeah, I mean, I think too with Super Mario Wonder coming out at the end of this year, and a few other titles that I think will get folks excited. If they're able to bring those over to the Switch 2 automatically, it's like, hey, this is playable on the Switch 2 as well. So, this game that just came out last year that is still on a lot of people's, headspace. They're thinking about Super Mario Bros. Wonder. You can put that on here and play it. Like just getting as much as you can in that is still relatively new, I think helps a lot. And the fact that the Switch has already built up a massive library, if most of that can come over, I think they're going to be in a great situation because that was the other thing with the Switch is you were starting from scratch.
Yeah,
All those games on there, you had to build up your entire library. Whereas this time now, the people that are coming over are like, well, yeah, this is like a no-brainer for me. This is a better way for me to play my existing Switch library. And now I can play the newest games that I can't play on the
right.
old console. So I think, yeah, I mean, the proprietary console actually does make more sense, only because, I mean, they want people playing on the new system. So, yeah, I don't know, man. I'm excited. Your lineup sounds incredible. If they put Metroid Prime 4 out in the same year as like the new Mario game, like That's gonna rival the launch of the Switch. That'll be an impressive year.
Yeah, I mean, that would be really cool. I'm so excited to see what Metroid Prime 4 has in store for us because, to be honest, Metroid Prime is a 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 game. It's a masterpiece. It's absolutely a top 100 game of all time. But as far as like the charging mechanic of like shooting every enemy but having to wait like 3 seconds for your gun to charge before, like that gets really, really old. I just hope that Metroid Prime 4 is everything that those Prime games are, but they figure out that charge mechanic a little bit.
Or just give you like an auto fire and you're good to go.
Oh yeah, that'd be pretty tight too.
They had that in the other games where you could like go like super essentially, and then like you'd have like a Gatling gun you could like launch at people, but not the same.
Oh, man, it sounds cool. I never played Prime 2 or 3, so got to get on that.
Well, I'm excited about it. Hopefully we get more news soon. I think there were some people speculating on a direct happening, I think this month or next month. I'm like, I don't know about that, guys.
I mean, I would cool it on that. It almost assuredly will be coming in, mid-September, but
yeah, who knows? I look forward to it. We'll obviously be talking about it if it does come out. And there's a Pokemon Direct tomorrow. I'm curious about what they'll be announcing, but maybe we can cover some of the announcements from that on our next podcast.
Yeah, sounds good.
So unfortunately, all that is the end of our podcast. Listeners, what do you think of the Switch 2? What do you want to see? Let us know, as always, by writing into bitcast@bitbloggist.com. Landry, where can the good folks find you on the internet?
You can find me on x.com at Soft Iconoclast, where I post about video games, and I'm going to try and not post about the Dallas Cowboys, but the NFL season's starting, and I've been getting the inkling to share my thoughts on training camp, but I will refrain.
Just avoid Landry's page about the Dallas Cowboys. Anytime you see something about Dallas Cowboys, just get out of there. Just get out of there. If you're not a football fan. If you are, then you're in the right place. Not
only do you have to be a football fan, but you have to be like niche enough to, which I mean, I get the Cowboys are like the biggest team in the country, but you have to be a Cowboys fan as well. So no, I'll keep that to myself. I don't have a single friend that's a Cowboys fan. It's just me.
I don't have a single friend that's a Cowboys fan. It's just me. All of my own.
Me and my whole family. So
okay, so you have a family at least. That's good. And then I don't have much coming out, but yeah, be sure to check out the other podcast that I do with the folks over at Retro Dodo. It's just called Retrospect, and it's a fun listen where it's more retro gaming inspired, and those guys are a lot of fun over there. So this, I'll give you a little sneak peek. I guess by the time this has already come out, it'll be late. So yeah, we're talking about remakes, remasters, and ports.
Ooh, fun!
Just kind of delineating those, and if one had to go, what would we choose? So that'll be our topic on that one. But yeah, other than that, this has been yeah. Dang it, I haven't messed that up in a while. Until next time, y'all, this has been BitCast. Thanks for tuning in to talk about some stuff.